The strange encounter. The small house at the end of the street looked normal from the outside, but inside, something strange was happening. Every night, the lights flickered without reason. The fan stopped for a few seconds and then started again. The television changed channels on its own. The young man who lived there, Daniel, thought maybe the wires were old, or maybe there was some problem with the power supply. But deep inside, he felt something was not normal. Daniel was not the type of man who believed in ghosts, but even he could not explain why sometimes the lights flickered in a rhythm, like a message in Morse code, like someone trying to speak through the electricity. He tried to ignore it for a few days, but the problem only grew worse. At last, he called for an electrician. When the electrician arrived, Daniel was surprised. She was not like any worker he had ever seen. She was tall, with sharp cheekbones and pale skin, almost too pale as if she never stood in the sun. Her eyes were silver, shining faintly, and when she looked at him, he felt as if she could see inside his mind. She carried a black case filled with tools he had never seen before. Some looked like pliers, but others glowed softly like they were alive. "Where is the problem?" she asked, her voice calm, low, and steady. Daniel pointed at the lights in the fuse box. "Everything goes crazy at night. I think the wires are bad." She nodded without another word and started working. She moved quickly, her hands sure and confident. Sparks flew as she touched the wires, but she did not even blink. Daniel watched her carefully. Something about her movements felt different, too precise, too perfect. As she worked, the lights flickered again, but this time Daniel noticed the pattern clearly. 2 short flashes, 1 long, 3 short. It repeated again and again. His heart beat faster. It was not random. It was a signal. "Do you see that?" he asked nervously. The woman did not look up. "Yes," she said softly, almost like she already knew. He wanted to ask more, but something in her tone made him stay silent. Hours passed, and the woman worked quietly. Daniel made coffee, but when he offered her a cup, she refused. She did not eat, did not drink, did not even sweat while working with hot wires. Late that night, Daniel could not sleep. He kept thinking about her silver eyes and the strange way she worked. Finally, he went to the kitchen for water. As he passed the small storage room where she had been working earlier, he heard a soft humming sound. The door was half open. Inside, he saw a faint glow like moonlight on metal. Slowly, carefully, he pushed the door open and looked inside. What he saw froze him where he stood. The woman stood there, her back turned. Her shirt was off and her skin glowed faintly like silver liquid under the surface. Tiny sparks of light ran across her body, dancing like lightning under her skin. He saw strange symbols glowing on her shoulders, symbols that no human language could explain. She turned suddenly, her silver eyes locking on his. For a second, neither of them moved. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. She was not human. "You should not have seen this," she said, her voice colder now. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. What are you?" he whispered. She stepped closer, and in that moment, Daniel felt the air around her buzzing, alive, filled with electricity. The humming grew louder like a storm building inside her. "I am not what you think," she said. Her voice carried both warning and sadness. "I am not an ordinary electrician, and if you tell anyone what you saw, you will not survive what follows." Daniel's mouth went dry. He wanted answers, but fear locked his words. She turned her back again, pulling her shirt on slowly as if nothing had happened. The glow faded, the symbols disappeared, and she looked almost human once more. But Daniel knew the truth now. The woman who came to fix his wires was no human worker. She was something else, something far more dangerous and far more powerful. Outside, the night was silent, but Daniel thought he heard a faint sound in the distance, a whirring like drones flying in the sky. His skin prickled. If she was not human, then maybe others were looking for her. The encounter had just begun, and Daniel's world would never be the same again. The alien revelation, Daniel could not sleep after what he had seen. The image of the woman's glowing skin and silver eyes kept flashing in his mind. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those strange symbols moving across her body like living light. He wanted to believe it was a dream, but deep inside, he knew it was real. In the morning, the house looked normal again. The lights worked fine, the fan moved smoothly, and the television was quiet. But Daniel could not stop watching the woman. She sat by the fuse box, holding one of her strange tools, studying the wires with the focus of a surgeon. Daniel's voice shook as he spoke. You're not human, are you? The woman looked at him, her silver eyes calm, not surprised. For a long time she said nothing. Then slowly, she placed her tool back into the black case and closed it. No, she said simply. Daniel felt a chill run through his body. He wanted to laugh, to tell her this was a joke, but her face was serious, cold and steady. Then, what are you? He whispered. She stood, tall and sharp like a shadow against the morning light. I am a traveler. Not from this place, not from this world. Daniel stepped back. His hands trembled, but his curiosity grew stronger than his fear. Why are you here? Why pretend to be an electrician? The woman sighed, as if the question was heavier than she could carry. Because it is the only way to hide. Your world is full of machines, full of electricity. It gives me cover. No one looks twice at someone fixing wires. They never ask questions. They never suspect. Her words sounded calm, but Daniel felt the weight in them. She was running, hiding. From what? From who? He tried to stay brave. What do you want from me? Her eyes softened for the first time, a hint of sadness in their silver glow. Nothing. You were not supposed to know. You were not supposed to see. Daniel's heart raced. Then why stay in my house? Why here? The woman turned toward the window, looking out at the quiet street. The sun was shining, children were playing in the distance, but her body was tense, her jaw tight. Because they are searching for me, she said. And your home sits on a signal point. A place where the grid is weak. It is easier for me to hide in the noise of your power lines. But last night they came close. Too close, Daniel froze. They? Who are they? Before she could answer, a sound cut through the room, a faint metallic hum. Not from the fan, not from the television. This sound came from outside, like something flying low, circling. Daniel rushed to the window. He saw nothing, only the clear sky and rooftops. But the sound remained, steady, growing louder. The woman's voice was sharp now. Stay away from the windows. Daniel turned. What's happening? Her silver eyes locked onto his. They are here, hunters. The word felt heavy, dangerous. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked again through the blinds, but the street was empty. No cars moved, no people passed. Still, the humming grew stronger, closer. Daniel whispered, Why are they hunting you? She hesitated. For the first time, Daniel saw fear in her face. Her glowing calmness was cracked, and behind it was something deeper, older. Because I broke their law, she said finally. Because I chose to protect, not to destroy. Daniel frowned. Protect who? She stepped closer, her voice low. Your kind, humans. The word hit him like thunder. His breath caught, his body stiff. Us? Why would an alien care about humans? She leaned forward, her silver eyes burning into his. Because you are not as small as you think. You are not as weak as they believe. You were never meant to know the truth, but I will tell you this. Your species has something that frightens them. Something they cannot control. Daniel swallowed hard, his throat dry. He wanted to ask what she meant, but before he could, a flash of red light cut across the wall. Daniel ducked instinctively. The woman grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him away from the window. Too late, she whispered. They have found me. The hum outside grew into a roar. Daniel's heart pounded like a drum. He wanted to hide, but the woman stood tall, her hand glowing faintly with blue sparks. Listen carefully, she said. You saw what I am. Now you cannot go back. If you stand with me, you may die. If you run, they will still find you. But if you trust me, I can keep you alive. Daniel stared at her. His fear battling his curiosity, his survival instinct fighting with something deeper. A strange pull toward her, toward the truth she carried. Before he could answer, the window shattered. A small drone, black and sharp like a metal insect, flew into the room, its red eye glowing. Daniel fell back in terror. The woman raised her hand. Blue lightning flashed from her skin, striking the drone in midair. The machine exploded into sparks, falling dead onto the floor. Daniel gasped, unable to speak. The woman's silver eyes glowed brighter now. She looked at him, her voice steady once again. Now you understand, she said. I am no ordinary electrician, and this is only the beginning. The humming outside turned into many voices, many machines, the street filled with shadows. Daniel's world was no longer safe, no longer simple. The revelation had opened the door to something much larger, and once opened, it could never be closed again. The silent hunters, the broken drone still smoked on the floor, its red eye dim and lifeless. Daniel could not believe what he had seen. Just seconds ago, blue lightning had shot from the woman's hand like she carried a storm inside her body. The room smelled of burnt metal and melted wires. His heart raced. He wanted to ask questions, but before he could speak, the woman raised her hand for silence. Her silver eyes narrowed. She was listening to something Daniel could not hear. Then he heard it too. Outside, the hum grew stronger. Not one machine. Not two. Many. The sound came from the sky, from the street, from every corner. It was not the loud roar of engines. It was softer, stranger, a whisper of machines, the kind of sound that made your skin crawl because it felt wrong, unnatural. "They are close," she whispered. Too close, Daniel stepped back, his voice shaking. "Who are they? What do they want?" The woman turned slowly toward him. "Hunters. Made for one purpose only, to find me." Daniel's stomach twisted. He looked at the broken drone again, its sharp claws, its glass-like wings. It had looked like a giant insect, but made of steel. And now there were more of them. Many more. The woman grabbed her black case of tools. She pulled out a small device that glowed with a faint green light. She pressed it against the wall, and instantly strange lines of energy spread across the plaster like glowing roots. "What is that?" Daniel asked. "A shield." "But it will not last long," she said. Her voice was calm, but Daniel could see the tension in her face. The hum outside grew louder. Shadows passed across the window, sharp and insect-like. Daniel's breath caught. He moved slowly to the corner, trying to stay hidden. The woman stood in the center of the room, her silver eyes glowing faintly. She did not hide. She was waiting. Then the first hunter arrived. The glass window shattered into pieces. A drone larger than the one before crawled inside. Its body was black, its legs sharp like blades. A red eye glowed in its head, scanning the room. It clicked and buzzed like a predator smelling blood. Daniel froze, his heart hammering in his chest. The woman raised her hand. A flash of blue light shot from her fingers, striking the drone. The machine screamed like metal tearing apart and fell to the ground in smoke. But before Daniel could breathe, another shadow appeared at the window. Then another. Then three more. "They know where we are," she said quickly. "The signal is too strong," Daniel panicked. "Then we have to run." The woman turned to him sharply. "If we run without a plan, we die. Do you understand?" Daniel swallowed hard. His whole body shook, but he nodded. The wall shook as two more hunters slammed into the shield. Sparks flew, glowing lines cracking across the wall like broken glass. The device on the wall flickered weakly. The woman grabbed Daniel's wrist. Her touch burned like static electricity. "Stay close to me. Do not let go." Daniel nodded again, unable to speak. The shield cracked open with a deafening snap. A swarm of hunters poured into the house. Their red eyes glowed, their metal wings slicing the air. Daniel ducked as one of them flew overhead, its claws reaching for him. The woman pulled him aside and released another bolt of lightning. The machine fell, twitching, but there were too many. Daniel ran with her through the narrow hallway. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the hunters tore through walls and doors. The sound was terrifying, a mix of buzzing wings, grinding metal, and shattering wood. They burst through the back door into the night. The street was silent, empty, but above them the sky was alive with moving shadows. Hunters glided silently, their red eyes glowing like stars. Daniel gasped. "There are hundreds!" The woman's jaw tightened. "Not hunters, scouts, they are searching. The hunters will come next." Daniel's chest tightened. Next, if these aren't hunters, then what are they? Her silver eyes glowed brighter. Silent hunters. Machines built to track, not to kill. But once they find me, the real ones come. Daniel felt his knees weaken. If these were only scouts, then what kind of monsters were the real hunters? One of the drones swooped low, its red eye scanning him. The woman reacted instantly, throwing a small disc into the air. It exploded in a burst of light, blinding the machine. It crashed into the ground, sparks flying. She grabbed Daniel's arm again and pulled him into the shadows of an alley. The hum in the air surrounded them. The silent hunters moved above like predators circling prey. Daniel whispered, "Why are they after you?" "What did you do?" The woman's face was pale in the moonlight. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "I broke their law. I stole something from them." Daniel's eyes widened. "What?" She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing like fire in the dark. "The truth about your kind." Before Daniel could ask, the air filled with a new sound. Heavy, metallic, slow, not the whisper of scouts. Not the buzz of drones. This was louder, stronger, like steel footsteps crushing the earth. The woman's eyes narrowed. "They're here." Daniel's blood ran cold. He wanted to run, but his body would not move. The silent hunters had done their job. They had found her, and now the real hunt was about to begin. The chase begins. The night air was heavy, carrying the sound of machines moving in the dark. Daniel's chest rose and fell quickly, his breath loud in his own ears. The woman stood beside him in the alley, her silver eyes glowing faintly, her body tense like a fighter waiting for the first strike. The scout still circled above, but now the ground trembled with a new rhythm. Heavy steps, cold, metallic, the sound of something far bigger than the drones. Daniel felt the vibration under his shoes, a slow pounding that made his bones shake. "They are here," the woman whispered. Daniel's heart nearly stopped. "Who, the real hunters?" "Yes." Her voice was calm, but her eyes never left the end of the alley. "Machines built for war. They will not stop. They cannot stop." Before Daniel could speak, a shadow appeared. At the end of the alley, a massive figure stepped into the moonlight. It was taller than a man, its body armored in black steel, its face nothing but a glowing red circle. Its arms ended in long claws, sharp and cruel. The sound of gears grinding filled the air as it turned its head toward them. Daniel froze in terror. His legs screamed to run, but fear held him like chains. The woman grabbed his hand, her voice sharp. "Now we move." Without waiting, she pulled him out of the alley. They ran down the street, their footsteps echoing against the silent houses. Behind them, the metallic footsteps grew louder, faster. The hunter was chasing. Daniel's lungs burned, but he forced himself to keep moving. The woman was fast, far faster than he expected, but she did not leave him behind. She pulled him whenever he slowed, guiding him through turns and narrow paths. The hum of drones returned above. Red lights swept across the street like search beams. Daniel ducked as one passed over his head. The hunters were not only chasing, they were hunting him like prey. Suddenly, a drone dived at him. Daniel screamed. But before it could strike, the woman raised her hand. A bolt of blue lightning cracked from her palm, hitting the drone in midair. It exploded into shards, crashing against the pavement. Daniel stared in shock, but she snapped at him. "Keep running." They turned a corner and entered a small park. The trees gave some cover, but the hunter's red eyes glowed in the shadows. The ground shook as the steel monster stepped closer, its claws tearing through the earth. Daniel tripped on a rock and fell hard. Pain shot through his arm. The woman stopped instantly, pulling him back to his feet. "Do not stop," she ordered. "But I can't." Daniel's voice cracked. "You can," she said firmly. "Because if you don't, you die." Her words lit a fire in him. His legs moved again, even though every muscle screamed. He followed her deeper into the park, branches snapping against his face. Behind them, the hunter roared. It was not a natural sound. It was the screech of metal grinding, sharp and terrible, echoing like thunder. The woman stopped suddenly near a broken fountain. She opened her black case and pulled out a strange device. It looked like a round disc covered with glowing lines. She slammed it onto the ground. "What is that?" Daniel asked, panting. "A pulse bomb," she said. "It will buy us seconds." The red light of the hunter appeared through the trees. The woman pressed the center of the disc. Instantly, a wave of blue energy exploded outward. The trees bent, the air shook, and every drone within range dropped like stones. Sparks lit up the night as machines fell dead. The hunter staggered, its red eye flickering, but only for a moment. Then it roared again and stepped forward, angrier than before. Daniel's eyes widened. "It didn't work." "It worked enough," she said. She grabbed his hand again. "Move." They sprinted through the park, jumping over fallen branches. The hunter's heavy steps crushed the ground behind them. Daniel dared to look back once and wished he hadn't. The steel monster was tearing through trees as if they were paper, its claws glowing hot from the pulse. They reached the other side of the park and stumbled into an empty road. Streetlights flickered, their glow weak and trembling. Daniel bent over, gasping. "We can't outrun it. It's too fast." The woman's silver eyes burned with determination. "We don't outrun it. We survive it. There is a difference." She reached into her case again and pulled out another tool. This one looked like a thin rod with a crystal at the tip. She pointed it at a power pole and the crystal glowed. The streetlights flickered brighter, then exploded into sparks. Electricity jumped from wire to wire, filling the road with a storm of light. The hunter stepped onto the road. The woman thrust the rod into the ground. Instantly, a chain of lightning shot out, striking the metal beast. It screamed, electricity dancing across its armor. For a moment it stopped. "Run now," she shouted. Daniel ran with her across the glowing road. His heart pounded so loud he could barely hear the hunters roar. They turned another corner, leaving the monster behind in the storm of light. For a few seconds there was silence. Only the sound of their footsteps and Daniel's heavy breathing. He dared to hope they had escaped, but then from the distance came another roar. Deeper, stronger, not one, many. Daniel's face went pale. "There are more of them." The woman's jaw tightened. "Yes, the chase has only begun." The hidden truth. Daniel and the woman ran until his legs burned and his lungs felt like fire. The night around them was silent now, but it was not a peaceful silence. It was the kind of silence that warned of something waiting, something hunting. They hid inside an old warehouse at the edge of town. The broken windows let in pale moonlight, and the air smelled of rust and dust. Daniel collapsed against a wall, clutching his chest, gasping for air. I can't keep running like this," he said between breaths. The woman stood tall, though her body glowed faintly with blue cracks of light, as if even she was weakening. Her silver eyes swept across the shadows, making sure no hunters followed them. Finally, she turned to him. "They will find us again soon," she said. "But before they do, you must know the truth." Daniel lifted his head. His face was pale, sweat dripping from his skin. "The truth? About what?" She walked closer, her steps slow, heavy with something more than fear, something like guilt. "About you." "About your kind," Daniel frowned, confused. "Humans?" "Yes," she said softly. "Humans." Daniel tried to laugh, but his voice cracked. "What do we have to do with this? You're the alien, not me. I'm just a guy who wanted his lights fixed." Her eyes glowed brighter. "No, Daniel. You are more than that. All of your kind are more than that." He stared at her, his chest still heaving. "What do you mean?" The woman knelt down in front of him, her glowing face close to his. "Your species was not an accident. You were not born only from this world. You were designed." Daniel's body stiffened. "Designed by who?" "By us," she said. "By my people." His stomach dropped. The words were too heavy to believe. He shook his head. "That's not possible. We evolved." "We came from the earth, yes," she interrupted. "But you were guided, shaped. My kind seeded your DNA long ago. We wanted to create a race that could adapt, that could survive where we could not." Daniel's mouth went dry. He stared at her as if she had just ripped open the sky. "You're saying humans are your experiment?" Her eyes softened. "You were our creation, but you became something we did not expect. You grew faster, stronger. You became independent. You broke away from our control." Daniel felt sick. His mind screamed at him to deny it, but deep inside, some part of him believed. The strange signals, the way the hunters came, the way she had looked at him, it all fit. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Because the hunters do not only want me," she said. "They want you. They want to erase what we made. They fear what you have become." Daniel's chest tightened. "Fear us? We're weak." "We don't have powers like you. We can't fight machines like those hunters." The woman's voice grew sharp. "You are wrong. You have something my people never had. Something the hunters cannot understand." "What?" Daniel whispered. Her silver eyes locked on him. "Your will. Your spirit. You fight even when there is no chance of winning. You survive when everything says you should die. That is why they fear you. That is why they want to destroy you." Daniel shook his head, overwhelmed. This is insane." The woman stood again, her body glowing faintly in the dark warehouse. "I broke their law because I chose to protect humanity. I learned the truth about what you are. I saw your potential, and I could not let them erase you." Daniel pressed his back against the wall, his hands shaking. He remembered the way she fought, the way she glowed, the way the hunters came like a storm. And now she was saying it was all because of him, because of humans. Silence filled the warehouse for a moment. Daniel finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "If what you're saying is true, then what happens now?" The woman's expression darkened. "Now you decide. You can walk away, pretend none of this is real. But the hunters will find you because now you know." Or what?" Daniel asked, his voice shaking. "Or you stand with me," she said. Her silver eyes glowed brighter, her voice carrying power. "You fight with me, not as my creation, but as my equal." Daniel's heart pounded. Fear screamed in his mind, but beneath it was something else, a spark, small but growing. For the first time in his life, he felt part of something bigger. But before he could answer, the warehouse windows lit up with red light. Shadows moved outside, hundreds of glowing eyes circling the building. The woman turned toward the broken door, her body sparking with electricity. "The hunters have found us again." Daniel stood slowly, his legs weak but his voice steady. "Then I guess I don't really have a choice, do I?" The woman looked back at him, a faint smile breaking through her serious face. "No, you don't." The warehouse shook as the hunters advanced. The truth was out now and there was no turning back. The battle for humanity. The warehouse trembled as shadows circled outside. Red eyes glowed through the broken windows, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The hunters had found them again. Daniel stood near the wall, his fists clenched though his hands shook. His heart hammered like a drum, but this time he was not frozen by fear. The woman stood tall in the center of the warehouse, her body glowing with faint sparks of blue. "They won't stop," Daniel whispered. "No," she said calmly. "They never stop. That is why we fight." The first hunter crashed through the door, a giant machine of black steel with claws sharp enough to cut stone. It let out a metallic roar that echoed across the warehouse. Daniel ducked as it charged forward. The woman moved like lightning. She raised her hand and a stream of blue energy shot from her palm, striking the hunter's chest. Sparks exploded and the machine staggered but did not fall. More shadows pushed through the windows. Smaller drones flew in, buzzing like angry wasps. Their red eyes scanned everything. "Too many," Daniel shouted. The woman's silver eyes glowed brighter. "Then fight with me." Daniel shook his head, panicked. I don't have powers like you." She pulled a tool from her case and threw it to him. It looked like a small rod with two glowing ends. "Press the switch," she ordered. Daniel hesitated, but then pressed it. The rod snapped open into a long staff, crackling with white sparks. Electricity hummed through it, making his skin tingle. "What is this?" Daniel asked, his voice shaking. "A weapon," she said firmly. "Yours." The hunter roared again and swung its claw toward them. Daniel reacted without thinking. He raised the staff, and when the claw struck it, a surge of energy exploded outward. The machine stumbled back, its armor glowing with burns. Daniel stared at the weapon in shock. He had never held anything like it, but it answered his movements like it was part of him. The woman's voice was sharp. "Now fight." The drones swarmed. Daniel swung the staff wildly, hitting one of the machines in midair. Electricity shot through it, and it fell to the ground in smoke. Another dived at him, and he spun clumsily but managed to strike it too. The weapon hissed and sparked, and Daniel felt his arms ache, but he also felt alive. The woman moved beside him, faster, stronger, precise. Every movement of her hand sent arcs of lightning through the hunters. Machines fell one after another, but still they came. Daniel shouted over the chaos, "There are too many." Her silver eyes burned. "That is what they want you to believe. But humans never give up." Her words lit something inside him. Fear still clawed at his chest, but he pushed through it. He swung again and again, each strike fueled by desperation and stubbornness. The warehouse shook as the larger hunter crashed through the roof. Steel beams bent, glass shattered, and the monster dropped into the center of the fight. Its red eye burned brighter than the others. The woman's jaw tightened. "The leader." The machine turned its head toward Daniel, scanning him. A deep metallic voice echoed from it. "Surrender her to us, human, and you will be spared." Daniel froze. The words hit him like ice. He looked at the woman, her body sparking with energy, her face calm but pale. The machine repeated louder, "Give her to us, and your kind will live." Daniel's chest tightened. A choice. He could betray her, save himself, maybe even save humanity, or he could stand beside her and face certain death. His hands gripped the staff tighter. He thought of her words, the truth about humans, the will to fight, the reason the hunters feared them. Daniel lifted his chin. His voice shook, but he forced it out. "No, I won't give her to you." The leader's red eye flared. "Then you will fall with her." The machine charged. The woman raised both hands, electricity bursting from her skin like a storm. The hunter's claws slammed against her power, sparks flying in every direction. Daniel jumped in, striking the machine's leg with the staff. Electricity surged through it, making the giant stagger. The woman pushed harder, her whole body glowing now. The battle shook the warehouse to its foundation. Metal screamed, glass shattered, smoke filled the air. Daniel fought like a man possessed, every strike of the staff driving back the machines that swarmed around them. The woman's voice echoed above the chaos. Together, Daniel. Strike with me. Daniel raised the staff high. The woman gathered her energy, her body blazing with blue light. At the same moment, they unleashed everything. The staff glowed white as Daniel slammed it into the ground. The woman sent a wave of lightning through the air. Together, their powers merged into a storm of energy that exploded outward. The hunters screamed as their red eyes flickered and died. Machines shattered, crashing to the floor in burning pieces. The leader staggered, its armor glowing, its red eye dim. With one final strike, the woman hurled a spear of pure lightning through its chest. The leader roared, its voice breaking into static, and then collapsed in a heap of burning metal. Silence followed. Smoke drifted through the warehouse. The broken machines lay scattered everywhere. Daniel fell to his knees, gasping. His arms shook from exhaustion, but a strange smile crept across his face. He had survived. He had fought. The woman stood over the wreckage, her body flickering with weak sparks. She was wounded, her glow fading. But her silver eyes turned to Daniel, and in them was something new. Respect. You see now, she said softly. Humans are not weak. You are more than they ever believed. Daniel's chest swelled with something he had never felt before. Pride. Not just for himself, but for all of humanity. But outside, the sky glowed red. More shadows moved in the distance. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The final stand. The warehouse was silent except for the crackle of burning metal. Dead machines lay scattered across the floor, their red eyes dark, their claws broken. Daniel leaned on the glowing staff, his arms trembling from exhaustion, his chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. The woman stood near the wreckage of the leader, her silver eyes glowing faintly. Her body flickered with weak sparks, her energy nearly gone. Still, she stood tall, like a warrior who would never bow. Daniel looked at her, his voice shaking. We did it. Her expression stayed serious. She turned toward the broken roof. Outside, the sky glowed red. Dark shapes moved above the clouds. More were coming. No, she said softly. This was only the first wave. Daniel's heart sank. He wanted to scream, to curse, to give up, but something inside him refused. He had already seen the truth. Humans were not weak. They were something more. And now he could not stop fighting. The ground trembled again. A deep hum rolled across the air, heavier than before. Daniel's eyes widened. A giant shadow fell over the warehouse as the clouds split open. Hovering above was something far larger than the hunters. A mothership. Black endless, its surface glowing with red lines like veins of fire. Its presence made the earth shake, made Daniel's bones ache with fear. The woman's face was pale. The council has come. The council? Daniel whispered. The rulers of my kind, she explained. They have come to finish what the hunters could not. The ship opened slowly, its belly revealing a blinding red light. Beams stretched toward the earth, searching. The air grew heavy, thick with static. Daniel gripped the staff tighter. His body shook, but his voice was steady. Then we fight again. The woman looked at him with something like pride. You would stand against them? Against all of them? Daniel met her silver eyes. Fear burned in him, but courage burned hotter. If we don't, then humans are finished. And I'm not going to let them erase us. For the first time, the woman smiled. It was faint, tired, but real. Then we fight together. The mothership released its army. Hunters fell from the sky like black meteors, slamming into the ground around the warehouse. The earth cracked under their weight. Red eyes lit up the darkness. Daniel's heart pounded. He whispered almost to himself, "This is it." The woman placed her glowing hand on his shoulder. Electricity buzzed through him, warm and alive. Whatever happens, she said softly, remember this. You are proof that humanity deserves the stars. Then the hunters charged. Daniel roared, lifting the staff. Sparks danced across it as he swung, striking the first machine that lunged. The staff exploded with energy, blasting the hunter back in pieces. The woman raised both hands, lightning bursting from her body like a storm. The air glowed blue as drones and hunters fell one by one, but for every machine they destroyed, more replaced it. The mothership poured them out endlessly, filling the night with metal and fire. Daniel fought with everything he had. His arms burned, his body screamed, but he did not stop. Every strike of the staff echoed with his will to survive, his refusal to surrender. He fought not only for himself, but for every human who never knew this war was happening. The woman's energy grew weaker, her glow flickering. She staggered but kept fighting, her silver eyes blazing with determination. Daniel saw her fall to one knee, sparks dripping from her hands. "No!" he shouted, rushing to her side. She looked up at him, her voice trembling. "It is time." "Time for what?" he demanded. She pressed something into his hand, a small crystal glowing faintly with white light. "This is my core, my last power. With it you can destroy the mothership. But once I give it to you, I cannot survive." Daniel froze, his heart breaking. "No, there has to be another way. We can fight together." Her silver eyes softened. "You are human. You must live. You must lead. My fight ends here, but yours does not." Tears burned in Daniel's eyes, but he nodded. His voice cracked. "I'll finish this for you. For us." The woman smiled faintly, her glow fading. "Now I know. Your kind is ready for the stars." With those final words, she pushed the crystal into his chest. Energy exploded inside him, blinding white. The staff in his hand burned brighter than ever, glowing like a sword of pure light. Daniel turned toward the mothership, his fear gone. He roared with all his strength and hurled the staff upward. The crystal's energy shot through it, releasing a beam of white fire that tore through the sky. The beam struck the mothership. For a second it resisted, glowing red, trembling. Then the entire ship exploded in a storm of fire and light, breaking apart in the sky like shattered glass. The hunters froze. Their red eyes flickered, their bodies shook, and one by one they collapsed lifeless to the ground. Silence followed. Smoke rose into the night sky. The mothership was gone. Daniel stood in the ruins, the staff now dim, his body trembling. He turned toward the woman, but she was gone. Only faint sparks remained where she had stood, drifting into the air like fireflies. Daniel fell to his knees, his chest heavy with grief and pride. She was gone, but her words burned inside him. Humans were not weak. Humans were not experiments. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were ready for the stars. Daniel lifted his eyes to the sky, the smoke clearing to reveal the endless night filled with stars. For the first time, he did not feel small. He felt infinite. The final stand was over. But the beginning of humanity's true story had just begun.